Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining for another review, everybody. Today, we have a Russell's Reserve 10-year. I don't know how I went all this time and never bought a Russell's Reserve 10-year. This is my first bottle of this thing. And finally, it just reached a point as I was staring on the shelf. I was like, I got to buy this and I got to review it. So let's break this bottle down together. Thanks for joining, everybody. Let's kick off the show. All right. So gonna pour today's into a mash and drum Glen. Cheers, Jason. Felt fitting to use a Jason Glen for turkey product here. But as I was saying off the top, I just never bought this. There's sometimes you just have bottles that you've been looking at for years and you're taking it for granted, like, oh, maybe I'll buy that today. Oh no, something else caught my attention. Maybe I'll buy that today. Oh no, something else caught my attention. And I've done that now for 5 years on this poor Russell's Reserve 10-year, wherever the heck long it's been out. And man, I had to pull the trigger finally. I was like, you know what? The time has come to get into some Russell's Reserve 10-year. Now, what I've heard of this one has been pretty divisive. I've heard some people not like getting it at all. I've heard some people just rave about it. Like, that's the thing you got to buy for $30. Man, you're going to see my opinion of this after we're done. But ultimately, what we're looking at is a 10-year age-stated product. It is proof down to 90 proof. So they did proof this one down compared to, say, the Russell's Reserve single barrels that are, at 110. This one's coming in at 90 proof. Well, let's get into the nose. We'll then get into the palate and then get into the official scores. Thanks for joining, everybody. Cheers. What sticks out on the nose, that oak, it does come through for me as a like musty oak, almost a little off-putting. I think the nose on this one is what I least appreciate. Uh, Now there are some other good things to note on the nose. There is a little bit of a mixed nut medley. Now, the nuts in that, it doesn't come across as a peanut. I'd equate it more to, man, sometimes you get like that medley that's like the walnuts and not cashews, but some Brazil nuts in there too. It's kind of that type of range when I'm talking about the nuttiness. There's also a nice dark cherry. And then ultimately, what I find is just a fried dough, almost a generic donut, even. When I'm saying fried dough, it's got that sweetness to it, but no frosting, no glaze, nothing like that. Literally just the fried dough in itself, straight out of the fryer. Uh, Nothing else to really hang my hat on when it comes to the nose. Let's get into the palate. Mm, yum. Up front, the main things I get are going to be a brighter cherry. So it was a darker cherry on the nose. It's really a brighter cherry up front. I get that immediately. Almost just a straight cane sugar sweetness. And then that's all wrapped around a vanilla that then turns a little bit into a cola note for me. Um, so you almost get like a cola sensation up front tied with that cherry. I guess you're getting into a cherry cola kind of realm, but that's ultimately what I think this tastes like up front. Mid palate here essentially just matches the nose and then what was going on in the front of the palate. So getting into that cherry note again, it's a little less aggressive, I would say mid palate than it was initially. The oak is there, which is really nice. That starts stepping up. And then the cola's still there too, with the vanilla, and ultimately that cane sugar I was describing. It even gets more into just like the clear white rock candy, the flavorless rock candy. On that sip, and I do find this escalates as I acclimate to this pour on subsequent sips, the nuttiness mid-palate does escalate as well. Now, this is not a peanut. When I say the nuttiness, I'm still going to point to things like walnuts and Brazil nuts, that type of range of nuts, but that does escalate little bit by bit. And I always love that cherry nutty combination. On the finish, man, super sweet, delicate balance between that oak and that age that I'm really getting right now as it escalates a little bit there. But man, that sweetness is really good on the finish. It's still cherry. It's still the rock candy. A lot of the other notes and the nuttiness aren't there anymore come the finish. It really is just a dance between the sugar and the oak. It almost equated even to sipping on the juice in a jar of cherries when it's done. It's almost that type of sweetness, and even the mouthfeel towards the end. This mouthfeel too, I think, does hold up for being 90 proof. It does have a nice oily mouthfeel, and I think that does come through on the finish. Like even right now, I'm still tasting the cherry on the finish. So this does have a pretty decent finish on it, especially for something that's 90 proof. It's just ultimately not very complex. It's just straightforward, but still delicious. All right, let's get into the final scores. All right. So with the Russell's 10-year here, this is a breakdown of the scores. We got 3 categories that ultimately make up the scoring system here at Hello Again Whiskey Friends. There are a whole bunch of metrics behind the scenes here, but we just summarize them for these videos into flavor, experience, and value. As you can see here, when it came to the flavor and experience, it graded out pretty consistently. The thing that held it back the most really was the nose. I just don't enjoy the nose on this thing, even when I'm sitting with it for a while. It's just that musty oak is just kind of a turnoff, but that note never appears again throughout the rest of the experience. So everything else starts elevating, but the nose holds it back. Value, this costs $30. I mean, come on. That's all the points for value. And that raised it up then to a 70. So that gave it a good boost to a 71. So that's a very good pour here on the scoring system. The recommend, I'd give that a 10 out of 10. I'd recommend this to everybody, honestly. I think this is a pour that you should try. I don't know why it took me so long to get into it in the first place. I know some people really kind of poke at this one, and I haven't quite figured out why now that I've gotten to experience about 1/4 of a bottle all myself. So do I plan to buy another? Yeah, I think this is a good one to have on the bar for a daily drinker, for a flask pour in the movies, bringing out to a park and just enjoying a pour at sunset or something. Heck, this is a perfect thing for that. You don't want to bring anything too intense for that. This is perfect. So that's my thoughts on the Russell's Reserve 10-year bourbon. Yeah, pretty impressed by this thing, and I plan to get it again. Once again, I don't know why it took me so long, but there it is, 71. Very good pour. Great pour for the money. Well, thanks for joining me today, everybody. I'll catch you on the next review. Bye, whiskey friends.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say